Hey everybody, welcome to the biggest interview of the VeVe Vantage Podcast. MisterV and I are super honored to have the VeVe co-founder and CEO, Mr. David Yu, with us today. We talked about some of the biggest priorities from the community, including rewarding and incentivizing collectors, aka the Master Collector Program, the OMI Tokens, and the Omi Utility Program, VeVe's entrance to Asia, particularly the enormous market of China, his plan for the VeVeVerse, how the VeVe Ecomi team grew from about 70 people to the lower hundreds, marketing, and what's going to happen with the collectibles that I held back from the suspended account, and a lot more. We hope you enjoy this interview, and as always, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating. Thank you so much. Let's get to it. David, thank you so much for joining us. I actually froze a little bit before this call. That's why I let you in kind of late, because we were trying to fix all the technical issues, and I just got nervous. But it is a great honor for us to have you here today. And I just want to say I started making VeVe content in 2021, and I never thought of a day where I can invite you on and have you join me and MisterV. And throughout the past week, I was like, is this even real? Is it guy really coming on? And it is, again, a great honor to have you here, and super grateful. Thank you so much for spending the time.
Yeah, thank you, Will, and thanks, MisterV, for having me here. We both myself and Dan, we extremely grateful for the contents that you pump out for the community and fans. So yeah, an honor to be here today. And I think we've been going back and forward to try to get this time slot locked in for a long time. And hopefully during this period, your listeners, people who subscribe to you, have put in some hard questions for me.
Yeah. So we also want to congratulate you on a successful San Diego Comic-Con. And the recent updates that you guys have been able to roll out. So for example, you have 4 new languages on the app. You have a lot more team members from the July AMA, and VeVeVerse is coming. So and also for the first time, the folks in Australia and New Zealand, they won't have to get up at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning to go for drops anymore. And also, people who are driving won't have to pull over anymore to go for drops. I have personally done that a few times. Like I'm on a highway and it is close to drop time, so I would plan out my gas stop and just pull in, go for drop, and then continue with my drive. So congrats on all the recent accomplishment with the product and the company.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a good milestone. We now have a very solid team, and we continue to expand where we see great opportunity for us to move into, and you probably will see continue to grow from VeVe with features, updates, and new product offerings. We're really trying to tackle all the issues and things that we have fallen behind on, and slowly you'll see, and surely they are all coming together.
Yeah. So my first question for you is, we saw that you had a very great conversation with VeVe Magic at San Diego Comic-Con, where you share some news of your trip to Asia. I know that you had a very busy June and early July, where you travel throughout Asia with Dan and other team members. And among the companies that you visited and mentioned on Instagram were AlibabaCloud and VIVE Studios. So for our listeners out there, AlibabaCloud is belongs to Alibaba, and they provide cloud computing services. And VIVE Studios develop and publish virtual reality content. So with those two exciting partnerships in mind, would you be able to share any details or some plans with those partnerships?
Yeah, I can give you an overview what we doing and what our aim in VeVe at VeVe office here. Obviously, there's a lot more meeting than just the 2 companies that you have mentioned. We don't generally just fly out for a couple meetings and come back. The overall arching objective goal is to really breaking into the greater Asia market. And we're talking about the Chinese market, where digital collectible is a much larger market there than the rest. I mean, one of the marketplaces does up to about $1 billion a day.
Wow.
US. So, going into this new market and understanding what the consumer wants and what they expect. And also, we must understand is that, prior to all these language rollout, and I think our Mandarin speaking within the app is rolling out as of today. But just going back to the plan for the greater Asia market is to ensure that the AR functions, the database, because in China there is a different set of laws and privacy and how data are contained and where they're kept. So we do need support in many fronts, in either cloud storage, security, payment aggregators up there, KYC. And also a major part is the Southeast Asia market, where AlibabaCloud has a good database of users and business enterprises using their service there. Ensuring that VeVe is always leveraging and using best technology practice to bring to our fans that experience is quite important. Up in Korea with the VIVE studio, it's more understanding the capability of the other parts of the world where they sit at in regards to 3D content making. As many of you know, we are moving into this new VeVeVerse product feature we're offering. It is very strong. It is very important that we are always looking out best, strongest company in tech, in rendering, in developing the roadmap. You probably already know, and the audience already know, the underlying foundation of our VeVeVerse is a platform to power that. Now we need to ensure that the aesthetic wise future rollout is going to be as good, and bringing that really to the front. So we are not just working with one studio, we're working with multiple studio who has acclaim awards and areas that they specialize in, and that's what we look for.
Yeah, I did some research on VIVE, and one of the projects that they did that brought them to the spotlight was they created this virtual meeting for a Korean mother who lost her daughter due to, I think, cancer or some other sickness. And it's pretty mind-blowing what they can achieve from using AR technologies.
Yeah. Both myself and Dan, we were very fortunate to meet the producer who made that documentary. It is very touching. And this is where the world is moving into. It's moving into areas where technology can bring different way of feeling, emotion. I mean, for VeVe, right now, we are having a great fun when we see the AR characters out there. But as we all know, and Apple has announced that the Apple Pro version glasses will be coming out, hopefully sometime 2024. And going back to even 2017, both myself and Dan, when we pitched to licensors or even investors in the pitch meetings, it's always about, imagine the world where you put on a AR or mixed reality glasses, you will really see and understand that digital layer. And that digital layer, what do you want to see? You want to see things that you can't interact in the real world every day. And that the studio and the producers has demonstrate that by bringing these out through the technology available, it's quite meaningful. And we want to work with company with great stories and great meaningful projects, and that technology can really enhance that experience.
Right. And then you also mentioned that I think China has like a pretty big industry of digital collectibles, and they have a really good like demand and sales. You mentioned that 1 billion numbers. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and your plan in Asia as a huge market?
Yeah, just to give you an idea, I was very lucky to able to visit multiple campus at Alibaba,
Mm,
and the amount of parcel the company ships a day through their e-commerce business is mind-blowing. It's over 100 million parcels just from one giant corporation. It just shows you that how advanced they are already in digital. People shop online. People are buying things through online more regularly than they probably do in the traditional retail. And it's just the tipping point where it's going to be moving into the digital goods. The digital goods is already a big billions and billions of market. And we're talking gaming. I mean, the audience there, it's in different type of gaming than the Western world, where
mm.
they're reinventing themselves and with gaming technology and the IP that they created and people know of. So that was very, very a great experience to see that they already have an existing market where people are willing to be buying. But I do have to admit the quality of the content obviously is still a few years back. And we're really talking about when VeVe is going to be available in the greater Chinese market, it will include what we see as of today, the 3D aspect, the AR. And these type of content that we have on VeVe is still very limited over there. So it's been very traditional IPs that has been coming out. We want to use both the Western and the East, and to leverage off, number one is promoting culture differences. You will start to see more and more Asian-oriented content will be slowly moving in and emerging into our platform. And we wanted to test to see if there's a market and demand for the appetite for, currently what we call it, the 70% of our market. It is still very Western. And slowly introducing properties and content maker like yourself who embrace these new IP and characters. If there's appetite, we'll continue to bring more. I think I did mention, overnight the success of Astro Boy have demonstrated that there's appetite for these type of things. We are going to be bringing out, in fact, my job is to ensure we fast track some of these partnerships and some of these license for our fans, mainly the purpose of that. The other major side is how do we understand, how do we let the Asian culture understand the Western properties? Obviously, a big part of our platform focus on artists, artworks. So how do we promote and bring artists to foster into new region? And these type of things are very important for VeVe, and just to ensure that we get a good mix of it.
Right. And speaking of marketing in Asia, I have a question about marketing in general. So in the past, there was a period of time where we didn't have cash out, so you guys couldn't really push on marketing. And then now we do have cash out. Maybe it's just a beta version with the new provider, but cash out is there and will be implemented to a wider user base. I think you have also pushed the KYC requirements a little bit further back in the process so that people don't have to face that challenge right away if they just want to try out the app. So, if what is your plan to market VeVe going forward?
Thank you for touching that. So apart from the physical, turning up to cons and conventions, a major part that is obviously the digital transformation. So we have been building a digital marketing team. which we are in the process rolling out. You probably have seen inside the end, you now, for example, the comics, you scroll down, you see a bit of video. It
Yep.
is all about how do we capture that audience and give them one portal to go and understand what VeVe is. A major part of this push really will be rolling out in Q4, start of Q4. We have onboarded new talent in the company in the past couple months. I think we have, in fact, a new personnel just started or coming on board on this Monday who will be driving our digital growth. So yeah, we're quite excited and looking forward to build that. One of the major part in this business is that there's a lot of moving parts, and the amount of resource that we can put into each side. We see where the issues is, and we try to basically tackle each one of them individually as we see fit with time. And finding the right talent on board, it is very important. I think on my past videos, I did talked about both myself and Dan as employee number one in the company. Then we grow to the 7th hire, the 17th hire, the 70, and the 300. VeVe is going through between the 70 to the 300 process. So
Wow.
now we have legal departments, we now have accounts departments, we have HR managers go through, we have weekly and bi-weekly team meetings with all our employees and contractors out there, and really ensuring that everyone's empowered to focus on their division and bring out the best of that. And you a lot of our fans will have seen that, for example, with Mitch coming on board, you have seen more regular updates, you have seen features rolling out. And nevertheless, there's always going to be bugs. And especially where VeVe is, we got a lot of products coming out. We've got a lot of new feature. We're trying to tackle new regions. All these things are all happening at once. So it does take a lot more longer. But marketing is definitely a Q4. You'll see a lot more content coming out and pipeline through that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing to see how the company transitioned to saying, okay, we're gonna get this thing out in this time period, to over the past maybe a couple months has been, you know what, we're gonna deliver them in the bi-weekly app update, and then we're gonna tell people. And that has created a lot of positive sentiment from the community. I still remember you guys, put out the waitlist system in one of the app updates, and then 2 weeks later we actually got the waitlist system. So yeah, it's amazing to know that you guys are going through the phase of 77 to 300. You have a lot more structure now and a lot more resources to actually do things, because the future of the company is very exciting. And I know then I will leave the spotlight to Mr. V. I know he has a couple questions on the collecting aspect of the app.
All right, David. I think we all are familiar with Sanjay at this point, Mr. MC1. He's very vocal throughout the community, whether it be on Twitter with his posts or in spaces. And I recently heard him talk about this term. I believe he may have coined it. It's called drive-by flippers. Okay. And for those who may not be familiar with the concept, it basically encompasses the users who simply look for liquidity from active and more engaged users, while neither reinvesting the profits nor contributing to the overall ecosystem in a net positive manner. So the community sentiment towards these drive-by flippers has been pretty negative overall. As a pretty dedicated collector myself, it is a concern that I would hope to be able to see get addressed. But in either case, one way that the community members are trying to mitigate this issue is by buying from accounts that are both public and show a higher amount of collectibles in comics in their accounts. Of course, it's difficult to turn down those those discounted or low priced items in the market, especially if they're really desirable. But it'd be ideal to see the gems that we spend go to more engaged users. So with this in mind, could you possibly elaborate on how VeVe can address this concern?
Yeah, thank you for that. I totally agree with you 100% on this. As you know, from day one, coming from a retail background, I see people come into my retail store trying to buy very sought after exclusive packs of collectibles, where we only allow users to purchase one or sometimes limited two per customer when they come to the store. So we don't get blocked over the internet and so on doing. Now, this practice goes the same way in VeVe. We demonstrated in the past that it's not like we have a zero tolerance in this, but we try to minimize and navigate through these issues. And just to make it clear, I also personally only buy off collectors, and I go through their profile and to see if they're actually holding things and how long when they're a member, and then I do the purchase. Very often, I do purchase much higher price, maybe 5 to 10% than the flippers, and I can understand where our users are concerning is that these guys are really in it for flipping. The unfortunate side of the hype beast collectible business, art toys, what have you not, is that you're always going to have a small percentage of these users does that. But what VeVe has now developed is that we have a lot more data collecting in terms of users, buyers' behavior, what they do with it. And Master Collector Program are awarded to users who collect the sets, who complete certain things. They're in the app constantly to be active as a community member. And these are how the NPC awards being allocated out. A big part will be moving forward, using these data to understand these users' behavior and perhaps in the wait list, there are ways to filter these users out. And that's probably what we'll be looking to do. But also saying from the defense side for these users, some of them do buy special mint numbers. So maybe they are in the market to purchase one or two blind boxes, and if they don't get the numbers they want, they do flip them out. I have seen quite often. We do look into these users' account, and some of them just have beautiful mint numbers. They have very low collectible profile. In fact, I did meet a couple at San Diego Comic-Con that their mint number is just amazing. I don't even know how on earth is possible. And they do express that if they do get a bad product, number associated to it, they do flip it, and they do use that money to double down on a better mint edition number. So we just do need to be a little bit more careful and thoughtful how we do this. And ideally is that I use a mechanism is that if we release 1,000 editions, we should be seeing more than 15% of these items are listed in the secondary market. If it's a very good set that went to the right holders, we should see as low as 7 to 8%. So that means you should only see between 7, 8% up to 15% of these collectibles are being in resale. Anything more than that, you can imagine if you release 1,500 edition and you have 900 of those are on the secondary market list for sale, this business is going to go down. And we monitor these numbers very carefully. And very often how we have done it in the past is to increase the edition size so they don't get super high inflated value in the secondary market. So these are the things that we have done. Third important part, what we have done and achieved is different pricing level of collectibles. You will have seen the Mighty goes for a particular style of customer clientele. Then you have the premium products, and then you have the nostalgia product. We are trying to learn by pricing these things a little bit more affordable, and higher edition, it goes to certain segment of our customer. And that's another way we could tell that. But still adding in the cherry in there that you will get a secret rare in that series, in that set. So there's a sense of chasing to complete or be part of something.
All right. Well, thank you for that insight. Another hot topic, and you lightly touched on this, is the loyalty programs for the community. One of our most vocal community members, his name is his username on the app is Maddie Boom Boom. He recently had this to say: the biggest takeaway to me is that most platforms start with loyalty programs built in. Element X with their allow lists, McFarlane with their XP, and DC Palm with their bat cowls. We're 2 years in with VeVe, and collectors have zero utility to reward collectors at the moment, right? It's taken way too long. An example of an easy solution would be if everyone with a master collector status gets on the allow list. A snapshot would already be taken. Boom, that's simple. Suddenly, everyone would be trying to make master collector status, end quote. We already have the MCP in place, but no utility. So could you probably touch on why this is being prolonged and how the collectors can be taken care of in the meantime?
Yeah. So going back, another really amazing question and great question for us to work on. And we do see other platforms, they have offer a royalty program to ensure that their top customers and lawyers get looked after, either by a way of giving them earlier access or giving them a discount by purchasing multiple collectible and so on. So number one is we are still learning on these data that we've been collecting just recently, how we should be doing it. It took a number of months, if not many quarters, to get the MCP rolled out. And as all our collectors are collecting these MCP points, just so you understand that these points, they are valuable, they are meaningful. We don't just put them in the profile so you can flex how many points you have or what level you go on. What we are trying to understand is a lot more deeper in this side, is that what type of collectibles you will want to use these redemptions point for. We are also speaking to our partners and licensors to make exclusive collectibles where you can only redeem them through your MCP points. So eventually we want to see those MCP points coming down. And collectors should know that your MCP point rank you amongst the community. So some of you might go down from a master to a diamond level is because you are already in a way peer against your own peers on your collectors levels to be more fair. Our job is to find out the most appropriate fairness. Let me explain to you in one way. My retail store in New Zealand is a very popular destination. I'm right in the heart of the city. And then you have these little satellite store, hobby, mum and pop stores around throughout the country. When a company such as like Hasbro with Magic the Gathering, when they release certain product, they make sure the product are distributed evenly throughout the stores. So every retail shop gets a product. But then for my sake, I will be ringing up Hasbro or Wizard of the Coast to say, well, why does my store get less allocation per capita, per footprint? And the point is that the store needs to demonstrate that they run the Friday Night Magic or they run the events, the competitions, and they have so many bumps on the seats in the back that promoting it. So evenly it distributes all the products and your allocation throughout a network. And that is the most fair way. The fair way is not that because you are a master level 100 plus, you're always going to get a better snapshot at it. How we should be awarding is in a way when you collect these points, you want to be part of the point, because when you get more points, you can redeem for something that is tailor-made for you, being that the items cannot be purchased with gems on a release on a primary drop. Furthermore, the MCP and the OUP are getting an update. As you know, the OUP is getting an update, and a lot of these master collectors program will play a part in that OUP, and that's what in the background we've been working on. And I don't actually have the right time when this will be rolling out, but want to rest assure our OG collectors out there is that we do have you in our heart as a community. We understand how important you guys are to this fandom, but we want to make sure that the system, it is fair for all for one. So it's not just award the top users. Top users, you'll get preferential redemption programs, but saying that anybody could be part of that. And that's what this is about.
I also want to mention that, so we interview many, people would call them whales in the community, like the top 20, top 10 even. And even though we don't have like an official MCP leaderboard yet, there's no official ranking yet, some great members in the community have been using the blockchain data to compile this list of how different accounts, collectors move on a weekly basis, and that has created like a pretty interesting competition among the whales, because I've seen people, like we've talked to people who would purchase a couple hundred comic books a week because he doesn't want to fall out of like the top 15 ranking. So there's a lot of excitement within that group, just purely from an MCP leaderboard perspective. So I can't wait for you guys to roll out more things, more official things, so that will get them started with that competitiveness.
Yeah, certainly, and the community is demonstrating that they want something more rather than the just the points. So the utility redemption will be very important. I can't tell you too much more in that, but there are something in the work. I mean, as I mentioned, those profile master collectors point don't just appear for a bit of laugh or giggles from our end. They are meaningful. They will be counting into something in the future purpose of it. We do have priorities in the company, what we think is the most important to do. So we've just been prioritizing our techs into certain areas. But with this wait list, once we fix the final things up, we do the final tweak, rest assured our teams are on top of these.
Hey guys, just a quick message. Every week I, MisterV, work over 20 hours to bring you the most non-BS VeVe content. English is my second language, and there were nights we recorded until 1 a.m. My brain stopped processing and I naturally spoke Vietnamese to him, and it got pretty weird. But that's just how dedicated we are to this podcast. In return, we ask you to enter a gentleman agreement. We will continue working into 1 a.m. for you, but we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, leave us a rating, and tweet at us to tell us what you think, because those comments will ultimately help us to refine the content just for you. That's it. That's all you need to do. Let's get back to it.
All right. Well, thank you for touching on that topic. Shifting gears, let's talk about gems and how we can buy them. So we can either use our portable devices and pay for gems using Apple and Google Pay, but they do take those companies do take a substantial amount, as the company has made pretty clear. Then we have the website, which will net VeVe a greater return. Can we expect any incentives to shift to the website? Just a thought. I'm an Android user. I'm not too keen on iPhones, but I have noticed that maybe we could consider using a similar rewards model like Google Play, where they have different tiers, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And you can maintain your status for the fiscal year, but it resets on January 1st. By assigning these tiers, users can accumulate MCP points at a faster rate. So if we're earning points, and we're bronze level, we would earn MCP points at a rate of 1.0 per gem. Silver 1.1, gold 1.2, and platinum 1.4. This, of course, would require a recalibration of how points are distributed, but I know at least I'd want to buy gems on the website instead of on my phone. Could something like this be in the cards for the company?
Yes. Yeah, another great question. It's something that we discuss internally all the time. Just so our users understand is that we hate paying to the major corporation on these, what we call a digital tax on it. Not just the commissions that we pay, but also we understand a lot of our fans in different regions get charged a less possibly favorable exchange rate when they put their credit card through. So there are a lot of cons in going through the ad process. And furthermore, we just want to make sure that fans understand that we can't try to circumvent. As you probably know, Apple will delete our app from their app store, and that's not something we want to do. We are working in the background on multiple options and fronts, and obviously the website portal is something that we encourage and try to get more users on board. You will have seen, if you are on the web portals, you get coming up, you're going to get more features, and there's going to be possibly more stats, how to track, and easier navigation. And our one-on-one auctions only run through the web portals, where you can't get it from there. So that's number one. And number two is, as we start to partner up with other regions, aggregator and payment, such as AlibabaCloud side, you will see a different payment method coming out for different regions for that purpose. And thirdly is that what we need to really be thinking is how easy we want these users to come on board. So we are working with solutions in ways, and we have seen other platforms where they navigate users to use crypto-centrics, such as OpenSea and other platforms. But the only problem is that Apple doesn't allow that to happen. They don't allow you to circumvent on a payment on digital goods. So they don't treat us like if it was eBay, or they don't treat VeVe like it was Uber, where they do take up to 30% of our total gross revenue before they pay out. And for these reasons, we are looking at it. And I think many other gaming companies have taken legal challenges with these companies to see if there's ways to compromise. And we do the same thing as well. But for VeVe, we need to think about how easy it is to onboard users, how to convert them to be an active user. Number two is that experience of mass market. The mass market audience is very unlikely you're going to navigate them to a portal to buy certain coins to do certain things, and have a privacy, your C keys and so on. And thirdly is that we all understand that Apple's going to be rolling out future products to enhance our experience in VeVe. We also want to make sure that we don't get kicked off. We are being looked after, prioritized. We want to be part of that leading technology as well. So we just need to make sure that in the politic front, we are handling it with a great balance of it.
I understand.
That's really good to know, because back when I started 2021 and even 2022, there was very little marketing from VeVe, and some people were questioning why. And then I realized that, so I work in tech and I work pretty closely with the user experience team for my company. And like the goal of that team is to make it as easy as possible for people to use the product, because for a tech product, there are three components that are super important, like usability, price, and function, right? So I know that in the beginning, and this is just my opinion only, in the beginning, VeVe didn't do any marketing. But to me, that 30% app fee to Apple and Google, that is, I think, the best kind of marketing you guys could have done, simply because in order to join VeVe, it is so easy. Like, you download the app, you can create an account, and you can go for drops all within about 15 minutes. Like, there's no crypto wallets needed. You don't need any knowledge on the blockchain, anything like that. You don't even need like a key or anything like that. Like, people who are shopping at Costco or people who don't know anything about NFTs can easily do it. And I know that you guys are paying a lot of your revenue for it, but I'm just grateful. And I think you have made a fantastic decision to make it as easy as possible for everybody to onboard.
Yeah. And just so our audience understand, and even with the KYC aspect, remember there was a process when you download the app, you need to pass all the KYC. Even that little bit of just KYC, we see a major drop off of people who download that. So it's not just the payment front. There's so many movements in this company. And without going into too much detail, but VeVe is now divided into many different parts of teams. There are a team that looks after, brand experience inside the app. There's a team that does all commerce. Their job is to ensure anything that they build in the engineering and the app coming out, it is all drive and funnel through conversions, and making it easy. It's all part of that. And there's a team basically ensuring that, how do we want to save this 30% being taken away from us? How do we do it? So there's many roadmap. At VeVe, we don't just sit here and watch the drop happen, count the clock and go, oh, we sold out, or we did it. We learn from all the mistakes that we do. Every employee in the company think alike to go, what do we need to do is to make sure that it's more sticky for the collectors, to make it more collectible, to ensure certain things. Every division in the business, including myself, every successful job, every failure job, or every job that didn't sell out, I take it to heart. I don't sit there and basically have a laugh or giggle on it. I make sure that we learn from it, and we take that learning and we try to do it better. And it just, unfortunate, it does take a lot more time than most people think it is. We have so much content coming out, and we're building so many partnerships and so many new vertical inside VeVe, that it is ensuring that all that moving parts coming into one major goal, and that intersection is always just going to clogged up.
Yeah. I also noticed, talking about improvement, I also noticed a much better consistency in the quality of the collectibles. In the past, sometimes we would get like super high quality collectibles, for example, the DeLoreans or the Elsa or Miles Morales. But then there will be some collectibles that would kind of like miss the mark a little bit. For example, Elektra or Invisible Woman. But then recently, or at least over the past few months, I can clearly see like a big improvement on the consistency of how collectibles look. For example, we have the Comic-Con exclusive Iron Man. Then there's Olaf and all these new collectibles coming out, and they look fantastic. And the animation and the sound are great. So what would you attribute this improvement to? And was it, VeVe being more selective of the studios you have worked with, or an increased budget, or is that something else?
Yeah. So making sure that the collectibles are, aesthetically very beautiful, it's always been our key. Everything we make, we think of how we're going to market this. Just so the audience understand, there are a few factors that takes them. Number one, the Elektra time period. Just so our users understand, the original work was commissioned with a very well-known studio, and unfortunately, the people behind it was around the Ukraine area, and they were not able to finish that work. And because of that, it went to another studio for basically the touch up. So it didn't really complete what we call the end to end from one artist or one maker for that. Then we also understand that, you know, our collectors' appetite, what they're looking for, you know, the very important is that stylist. You know, you in the collectible world, you see the very beautiful traditional detail. Then you see artist interpretation of certain Batman, for example, the Batman Black and White series. These are artist series. They're all slightly different. And then you have seen now the chibi style where the Marvel Mighty comes in. Do they like the more Funko, or they all want to go for the premium? So the Iron Man is because that's the Iron Man that you know of from the movie. But if it was an Iron Man representation of a certain artist, it probably would look slightly different, because as we all know, the first appearance of Iron Man, Suspend 39, the Iron Man looks like he is in an iron pipe. And because of that, we want to make sure that the type of collectible that we're bringing out is the one that our users are known of. But unfortunately, not every single item that's going to be coming out, you will see that. And you will have seen the Marvel comic that we done. They are very comic alike. The Mighties are very chibi, articulate to that audience. And then we have a Marvel Studio selection. So the studio selection is more in line with what you know from the Marvel Universe movies. And Elektra just happens to come in from the comic, one of the side. And as you read the comic, that's how it looks alike to it. We will improve. From the Iron Man drop, I thought there has been many drops. I thought VeVe has reached a new high, but you have to see what's coming out in the next quarter. They are very, very amazing product coming out. Even the drop that's coming out tomorrow, the Little Prince. The particular, the color and that style and that product, when you put it in AR, it's unreal. It's like a surreal.
I bet it's going to be amazing.
Because the way we texturize it, the color, the shape, we haven't used it in VeVe. So when you see new things that comes into it, it brings you new excitement and level us up to another level. And just keep in mind, like, for example, the Little Prince, we have produced the model already long time ago, but the studio didn't like it. So we scrapped that and we remade it to where you have seen this. So there's a lot of heart go into it, and we do scrap the work. Like, for example, the Little Prince, where we finish something, we don't like it, we go back to the drawing board and we bring out something as more original or more storytelling. So we also do want to stay true to each brand, how they are represented in VeVe. It is very important that, you know, when they interact with other VeVe collectibles, they have their own story behind it.
Yeah, I love visiting people's showroom. And so I have my regular phone, and I bought a brand new phone with just VeVe app installed on it, just so I can, scroll the feed and visit people's showroom, because there are collectors out there who spend hours and days working on these showrooms, and they are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And it's pretty amazing how creative people can get. And I'm sure the Little Prince will look amazing on, like, when you go from a showroom to the sky. That's gonna look incredible, and I cannot wait for what's to come in VeVe in the next couple months.
Yeah, so a lot of product, when we build it, for example, Stan Lee, in a way we build it into a non-likeness style, even though when you looked at it, you just go, well, that's Stan Lee. We wanted to make sure that other collectible can interact with it in one environment, and to ensure that, our fans are going to use it in their showroom or their VeVe home in the future. And there's a lot more. So when we put something together, we need to start thinking the roadmap, how that world will look like, and how we want that collectible to be represented.
Yeah. And I know Mr. V has a question on the like the collectibles that are held back. Do you want to get started, Mr. V?
Yes. All right. Yeah. So staying on topic of collectibles and comics, when you click on an item, you can see that there's a newer line item as of a few months ago, where we can see how many editions were burned, and it says burned editions, right? So this it looks like things are pretty much up to date, with exception of maybe like when we're dealing with crafting and that sort of thing. Is there any way that we could have another line item to reflect how many editions are locked up in suspended or botted accounts? This would help collectors like figure out what the true supply is, and then base their decisions on that. From I myself, that is something I do like to take into account if I were to, let's say, in the future, stack.
Yeah, that's a very good question again. Now, I mean, we could have another line if we have the ability and resource to put into it. Number one is we just need to make sure that how we prioritize it. Number two is we are still going through each of these lockups account, and we're investigating furthermore. And in certain cases, some of these account, we'll be taking legal advice if there's local police needs to be involved and all that. So technically, the users still do own that account. We can't just say, well, because it's on a locked account, that collectible doesn't exist. And we also need to be mindful is that what happened if it comes out with a positive result that is favorable for that user, do we move it back to the supply? We just don't want to misinform our users in a way. If you do take in to stake and then you found out, God, there's another 300 just came onto the market. The number of editions that we release is the official number, and it's 1 of 2,000. You will always know there will be no more than 2,000. And the burn mechanism is because we know 100% that is totally being removed. So we just want to make sure that we don't misinform in that. But saying that, Mr. V, I'll be putting it down to the team, and we could look furthermore on that to see if there's something we could do. But once again, just making sure that it is within the company's prioritized list first.
Yeah. So, and maybe just another layer to that is, my understanding was that there was a 2-year window that if there's no activity and I believe it's in the terms of services, where if there's no activity for 2 years, then it's basically forfeiting your right to the account or the collectibles. I may be misphrasing that, but that's kind of what I've come to understand.
Yes, you are correct. So we're only starting to come up that second year pipeline. So it is on our list to go, well, what do we want to do and how do we act on it? I don't want to comment too much until our legals give me the okay on that. And we'll announce it publicly in the right form of manner.
Great. Thank you very much for that. All right. Now, I'd like to take a look into the interaction between community members. So OpenSea has this feature where they can send offers for NFTs. Is this a function that we could see in the short term? Granted, there might be some suspicious amounts that try to get thrown around, like offers that are way, way, way over floor, or offers that are substantially below floor. But to mitigate those issues before they even come up, maybe we could have like a restricted range of offer amounts until the team is able to scale, until there's a team that can scale to being able to oversee this more closely. What are your thoughts? Sending offers and even counter offers.
Yeah, certainly. We see these in the normal traditional auction website where people can send offers and requests if they're willing to drop the price, so on. I do believe it is a feature that's in our list, working on it. I just don't know when it will be rolled out, but it is being brought up numerous times throughout the.
All right. And then maybe like a less pressing concern, but I kind of think that this is important nonetheless. Maybe a locking feature for collectibles that will require 2FA. Something that's come up among collectors with valuable collections, or maybe they put in a significant amount, is like, what if someone else got a hold of their phone and started listing collectibles before the company could be notified? At one of the previous events, and we're talking maybe a year plus, the user Wet Wizard, he lost his phone and went through the same that particular situation. Fortunately, nothing was sold from his account, but the risk was pretty real. Would you consider adding this locking feature that requires 2FA as an option?
Yeah, so certainly. So couple things. Since the 2FA have come in, but on listing, selling things, we have seen those type of activity drop significantly. Furthermore, if you did lose your phone or misplace it, and there's a lot of things on it, yeah, please write to the customer support and subject, I lost my phone. Could you temporarily put my account on freeze? Obviously, we will be coming back to you to ask for KYC period. You may need to submit your ID, which many of you already done as part of your KYC. If it matches up, would be more than happy to suspend the account until further notice. It's things like that. So it's very similar to a credit card. If you lose your credit card, you ring up the company or you write to them, and they temporarily will block it. We definitely will be doing that. If any of you are having that issue right now, today, you should reach out to us. But it is something that I will bring up with the team, just another layer of security, because we do pride ourselves on ensuring that the users are safe. What they have purchased will not be able easily to be moved or be relisted for sale.
Yeah, that's just like kind of an idea, one of those creeping thoughts that creep into the mind. Like if I were to go to I've yet to do this, but like if I were to go to a Comic-Con or a D-Con, and I'm not saying that my collection is any different from anybody else's, but what if there are people pickpocketing and take the phone and just have go away? All right. So shifting gears, I believe Will wanted to talk on Ecomi and the Omi token.
Yeah. So this is one of the most asked questions from the community in preparation for this interview, David. So there's been some, and this is me paraphrasing the different questions related to this topic, which is that we haven't seen Rhys in a while. And then, the Ecomi YouTube page recently had the videos deleted. And in the past, we have seen Rhys at the different VeVe events. We haven't seen him recently. So people are just, talking about rumors of him leaving, or if there's going to be people working on the OMI token and OUP. Obviously, you guys have mentioned in the July AMA that there's a team dedicated to it. But maybe if you can provide some clarification on, why the Ecomi YouTube page doesn't exist anymore, and is Rhys is still with the company, and maybe your plan for the OMI tokens.
Yeah, the only thing I can't address too much on is why the YouTube's being removed. It could be simply we're updating our web page or something. If it's a link to a YouTube something, remove, I don't think is you need to be worried about. We constantly will look at updating things. And in regards to Rhys, we do we do communicate with him. I mean, I did receive an email just a day ago with his whereabouts and updates. He has recently resided in Europe, and because he used to be moving around quite a bit, so we have let him settle down in one place for his own purpose, just to ensure he can continue with maybe his visa or what he needs to stay in those states. The only other event that we have done live today has been the Comic-Con San Diego. So, both myself and Dan, we the key people in there. So we're happy to answer any questions on it. Now, the other side about the building the token behind it, yes, we do have a team actually building the OUP. Just keep in mind, Ecomi is not just one individual person. It's not relying on any one key person needs to be in the front or that. Rhys was simply a community manager, updating things when we're building out our roadmap. No one in both organization and VeVe or Ecomi is unreplaceable. I was talking to Dan the other day, even myself in my position is replaceable. Where we really want to get the company into is to a more a corporate approach where people are tied into their KPI, people are doing certain things. When their contract do come up for renew, we do go through a thorough steps of making sure that they are ticking off everything that they should be doing. Once again, going back to that, the 1-7-17-70-300 method is that the people who come on board in VeVe, if you're the seventh of the 8 employee, you might not be the best fit for someone who's in an organization that is 70 plus employee. We want to make sure that not just the culture or the diversity, but to ensure that the skills and the way they communicate gets through the team. So every single person in VeVe, in Ecomi, they go through the same thing. They come up for the renewal. We will interview them. We'll talk about their future plans, what the importance to the company. Every single one of our employee contractors are very important, but it does not mean that the moving forward to the bigger culture, we're definitely not working like where we were in 2020. So we need to make sure that we find the best fit people onto it. And if anything, we need to community updates on these. I think we will be, there's nothing to hide from our side. We'll be updating them if there's any new movement or a new community manager coming on board and so on.
Right. And a lot of people ask about Omi because many of us, myself included, we knew about Omi first, during that during the 2021, where there's a lot of hype around crypto. People learn about Omi before transitioning to VeVe. And for VeVe Collectible as an app and a product, there are so many updates coming out. You guys are doing, so Mitch is doing a sprint, so like a 2-week sprint that you guys are shipping a lot of products. But on the Ecomi side, it's been pretty quiet. And so that's why people were just wondering, if Omi is still a priority, and maybe what is your plan with the token going forward? I know there's a lot of ambiguity in the crypto industry in general, but maybe if you can, clarify a few things, or some challenges that you guys are facing, just anything that will satisfy that curiosity from the Omi and VeVe fam.
Thanks, Will. Number one, we constantly in the watch with regulatory what's happening. And we're learning new things every day from the US press, and we just need to be very careful that we don't overstep the line. And our intention is to ensure that everything is above board. We are building OUP all around that. So that has been moving forward. We will be giving more updates once we're satisfied with the building of it. It's a lot of implementation more than just go, well, we already know what users want. They want to able to purchase item, they need to do and all that. But from the regulatory point of view, not just government, I'm talking about, going through even Apple regulatory. They don't allow you to circumvent them to use other products to purchase a digital product, or they will delist us. So we just need to be mindful. So it's more around, how do we, that users have access to, as possible. We're looking at VeVeVerse, where OMI could be used a lot better, more freer. Possibly that's one area we're aiming to do. Number two is other Omi Utility Program that will be launching out with the conjunction with the Master Collector Program. Certain aspect allows you to do certain things to award you. So all that's been tied up, and I understand the team. We have a dedicated team that's been building that.
I have a personal question for you, David, which is I really admire you and Dan about the fact that you actually were able to acquire really amazing IPs and licenses way when people didn't even know what digital collectibles and NFT is. So going back to 2017 and 2018, how was it for you guys to rush and acquire these IPs? Because some other companies could have acquired, let's just say DC Comics, and sign like a 5-year contract with them, or Disney and Marvel and sign like a 5-year contract, and you will miss that window of opportunity to sign with Marvel, Disney, and Lucasfilm all together. Was that like did you have a lot of quote unquote FOMO, and were you nervous that some other competitors would get in front of you?
Yeah. So going back, number one is both myself and Dan, we welcome, the space needs to be as much competition as possible. This will never be one company will win them all or anything. And we, from day one, we knew the medium of collecting in digital is just going to get bigger and bigger. So it's convincing that the licensor that there is a market for this product. And I do have to admit that none of them have thought there could be a market for this product. And pretty much it was like, good luck, if someone will buy it, we'll be happy to take a cut of that. It is very hard to sell something when the app wasn't even live, where you're pre-revenue, you have pre-users, pre-traction, no proof of concept has been done. I was talking to Dan the other day, all we had was a PowerPoint with some background setup. He did slides of certain things, does certain things when you press a button. It was all really a conceptual thing. We were just very much resilient to make sure this is done. I always have a huge belief and ambitions in building business. But there was something that is really true and remarkable, is really having Dan as my co-founder in this. And he has been possibly the most strongest pillar in everything, from support, from understanding, from the relentless of his attitude, and with my ambition combined, we were basically living a dream where we kind of only have each other to support. I believe that even my parents thought I was definitely out of my mind. I started my career at a young age in 97, bringing trading cards into New Zealand, tabletop games, where these were unknown industries where people will play a trading card game or miniature figures or Dungeons and Dragons. There was a very niche business. Entering into a digital realm in a similar field where it's unproven and so niche, it was very, 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 very difficult. And we are going to be hoping one day put a book out. And I, to the audience out there, you only have seen a part of the journey in VeVe. A lot of the stuff that we documented prior to the actual launch, some of you guys were fortunate to come on in late 2020, our beta users, and early 2021, you haven't heard the story from the 216, 17, 18, 19. Now, that 5 milestone golden year, I'll call it, it's going to be, it's very entertaining. And when in the appropriate time, we will be putting these news out. There's a lot of stuff we are holding back. So it's not just the rise of VeVe. There's the, in a way, the prequel about how it's done and how we work with the licensors, how we pitch the business and the journey that we went through. And it's something that's probably more important to let people understand the making of it and how difficult it was. It's extraordinarily difficult. Nevertheless, about who was our competition in the early days, who was doing whatever asset you can get. It's not about all the brands you can get. There's other companies out there have first appearance of many other Warner Brothers IP. They just can't even live through the beer market. There's other competitions, and some of them are actually friends of ours. What we really want to see is everyone live through the beer market. So it's an industry. It should be celebrated collectively. If only VeVe has a win, it's not really a win for everyone. We don't want this business or industry to be just like a fad. You go through it and up and down, and people forget about it 20, 30 years ago, later. What we want is to be the new medium of people collect. When people collect t-shirts, posters, artwork, statue, toy, they go, oh, I also have a digital version of that and I can bring it out. And the more and more companies such as Apple, when they bring beautiful product out and when we can integrate it in there and achieve that goal, we will see more and more players to come in. I love all creators out there, and I love all the platforms out there. And it is quite sad moment even this week to see a number of these other competitive of ours are ceasing their operation. And it is a concern to us. We are, straight away, our internal team are going, well, how can we support other options? Will VeVe have a portal one day where you can import all other licensed collectible onto it? How do we do it? Is there an opportunity? So for us as a company, we continue to serve, number one, as the customer. We always think, if you had a bad experience owning something in a company and they're stuck in that wallet because they're no longer going to support it, how can we help? Because when you have a bad experience, you're probably not going to buy. You're probably going to be alerted to go, well, maybe I should stop and sit, in certain water level. So we want to make sure that the community in the digital collectible realm is going to be looked after. Our biggest goal and biggest heart is to ensure that our IP owners are well looked after, bringing out the best cool product for our users, which is very important because in a way, the VeVe users and our stakeholders are very key part of our success and how we make that less friction as possible.
Yeah, I remember. So I would love to see maybe like a book or a documentary about your early period of VeVe, because I do a lot of research for this podcast. I looked at, Blackbird and all the companies that you guys work with in the very beginning. And one time I watched this video of you and Dan pitching to, I think it was the Edmund Hillary Foundation or something, or something related to that. And it was amazing to see you and Dan just like, walking people around and show them the collectibles in AR, and just seeing that enthusiasm back then, with all these incredible collectible, it just was kind of like mind blowing to think back. And Mr. V, I will leave the spotlight to you.
All right. So, you just came back from San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm just curious. I saw that VeVe Magic was able to gift you something during her interview with you. That looks pretty cool. I think I see it in the background, don't I? To your right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you receive any other gifts that?
Lots of comics, lots of merch from our VeVe fans. We just been overwhelmed with every day during the expo at Comic-Con. There's just people coming up and telling us about their experience, their fandom, and how it got them into collecting. I certainly got a lot of free gifts. I haven't got them all here, but there are some other collectible that I thought I could share. In most recent time, I've been, and this is when I talk about recent time for all my life, really. I love collecting, as many of you know, but I'm just going through a phase where I'm running out of rooms, so I can't actually continue buying big pieces. So I've been moving more and more into getting comic artworks. And, I'm very, very fortunate with the VeVe platform have allowed me to reach out to some of the artists that is featured on VeVe and to get some of their artwork for my own sake. So two artists that I really adore and love. There's a very famous Japanese artist by the name of Peach Momoko. Just amazing freaking talent. Just so amazing. I'll show you a few of the things I did manage to get for myself.
All right.
I did manage to get one of these signed by her. That's one of the cover artwork from the signature series. And I did manage to get number 1 of 15. I did have to hustle quite a bit to and so that was a print. I did so last year I did see some of her comic being published, so I managed to get her to hold a couple of the original artwork she did. Here's one of the piece here, very nice, from Peach.
Wow.
And then another cover for Moon Knight, so that was a very cool piece as well. Other things, and the other second, by the way, there's a lot of artists I met through Comic-Con. The other artist I really always loved was Frank Miller, and I will say he is probably the king of comic, the legend, the OG. Apart from you got Stan Lee, all these early Marvel artists and writers, Frank Miller has to be the other key reasons why comic. And he created Elektra. He did a lot of the initial concept for even like Wolverine. Here's a published cover of Loki.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is the second one of the third published cover I got from him, and this is the third one, which is the Wolverine, and that just I believe that's coming out in September.
That's amazing.
And I've been reading a lot about the internet on his work. He's very into that type of stylist, quirky, whack type of character. Almost not almost all the new fans coming on, they know the Wolverine is how they see and the detailness. But Frank still stays very true with his original 80s art style. So comic artwork has been quite a big part of my life the past year or so. Comic book, obviously, because it's just easier for me to bring back on my handheld luggage. Apart from that, what else did I get? I got given a lot of different type of trading cards, but books, and yeah, just really good to see all the fans out there being so supportive. And we are looking forward to announce our Q4 23 live events. We are hoping to have 2 more events this year. And then we're going to start planning for 2024. And I know a lot of our European fans want us to be in that side of the world, and we are going to try to work on something to come over there for VeVe.
So I want to build up some context for for the next topic of discussion. I want to talk to you about my co-host, MisterV, because I want to say thank you for creating this opportunity for people to start collecting, because based on my YouTube demographic, I know that the majority of VeVe users, from my perspective at least, is like 25 to like 55, mostly male, right? And then so what I think is like, and I've talked to many people, collected when they were younger, when they were kids, and then you grow up, you move to college, you don't have a lot of space in your dorm room. And then when you get older, you get married, you don't have that space anymore because you have, space for your kids, for your family. You don't have time. Because of this product that you created, people started collecting again. And it's pretty amazing to hear all these stories. So MisterV, he is obsessed with this one particular mint. And I have to tell you, like, this guy waited 1 year to grab to collect this one particular, was it the skateboard, MisterV?
There were a lot.
Okay. He actually got up at 3 a.m. to win this auction of I think it was like the Golden Moment skateboard. And I would love for you, MisterV, to tell David about your mint, which I will milk, and all your stories about it, because I want you, David, to hear from collectors like him. It's pretty incredible.
I mean, there's not much to it other than the fact that I feel like I'm pretty cutthroat. Like I have a lot of conviction in terms of my pursuit for completing sets. It's all or nothing for me. Like if I can't finish a set, I'm not going to hesitate to let it go, to bail on it and just kind of move on. But like, I'm particularly fond of Moon Knight. I love the character. And when you show the artwork, that just kind of clicked for me. I managed to get the whole collection with the same mint, along with the matching comic on VeVe. So I really feel like that's like a pretty unique package that I put together for myself, and I'm very proud that I was able to do that, because there's a lot of users who are sweeping all these collectibles and comics, but to be able to put everything together, comic and collectibles, I think it's pretty special. And I did try to put together all of the golden moments with the same mint, but unfortunately I was not quite as successful there. I only got 7 out of 20. The Steamboat.
Say the mint.
I mean, I think it's irrelevant. But
it's a beautiful mint, David.
And the Steamboat Willie set, I absolutely love that. And that one took me like a year and a half to complete. So I've put a lot of time and resources and energy, and I'm very grateful for the updates that you guys are providing for the users to make finding those collectibles or being able to communicate over time a little bit easier. All of that really plays into making the experience that much more enjoyable, because I at the moment, at this present moment, I don't have multiples of anything, although I would like to. But in my pursuit of being able to complete matching mint sets, it's, I'd rather put the gems into doing that first and then circling back. Even the Monster Hunter collection, I have all of them with the exact same mint.
Wow.
That I'm very proud of, and a number of other things. But it's much like when you were mentioning how your goal for users would be to make the VeVeVerse or VeVe in general one of 3 places where they would like to spend most of their time. For me, at least, you definitely hit the mark. If I have any recreation, if I have any free time, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm pretty similar to yourself. And Dan actually described how I collect. My mentality is, he cracked it, which is true. If I know I can't complete the set, I don't even touch it. So before I purchase anything, even in physical or digital, I want to make sure I can complete the sets. Now, and something I have found about my behavior recently is that if I did get the drop and I did get a secret rare, I need to go back and buy all the other one, even though possibly the secret rare is the most desirable one to own and you already own that. But the sense of completing the ultra rare, the rare to the commons and whatever, it was so important for me. So I realized that when I'm into one character, I go for it. So hopefully next time we have time, I will show you, which I haven't got, the Frank Miller Moon Knight work. So I don't really just collect from one artist, but I collect that character. So I go and try to get them all. So Moon Knight really hit the spot for me as well. So I kind of, whenever I see it, I try to get it. Very, very similar. And I think it's something with the collector's mind when they go to that next level, they kind of can understand it. So in Comic-Con, you will know your casual collectors, and there will be collectors that will come up to me and they will say certain things and they will show me their certain collections. Straight away, you will go, man, this guy is super master collector. Apart from his collector profile point, it just his mint numbers, the way he thoroughly go through collect series 1 and why he likes collect series 2. And this is part of why we divide VeVe into multiple series every 6 months, is that so the users can have a sense of ability to complete series 8, because if they just come on, because some of the earlier series, it could be out of their reach in terms of money. So they would just love to own one of the collectible on series 1, but they could complete a series 7 or 8 and moving on. I'm looking forward to, apart from the book of Netflix, I'm looking for one day we will publish a book, a checklist, because there are certain things I missed out, and there's certain collectible out there. It was a test collectible where we only had few. I think I was looking at my collection the other day, and I'm going Top Dog, the comic book. And as you probably know, that was a beta test that we done with Marvel for certain other things. And we were very fortunate to able to redeem one. And there's only one of few. And that's really a test product. And then there's all the movie theater posters. So I'm actually thinking to go and collect all the movie theater posters, because I looked at the James Bond poster coming out tomorrow, and I'm going, man, these are the movie I've seen them in real life, in the theaters. So they're more recognizable for me. So I will go and buy them because they're the newer Bond film. And then when I thought about that, I go, oh, maybe I need to go and collect all the Marvel one we did, the one we did with AMC and so on. So I might start doing that. But for you to go to the next level to get the mint numbers, you're pretty deep in. So I love what you're doing. And do share me in the email Yeah, I wouldn't publicize what mint number you're doing because you might have a whole group of fans holding out for you to.
That's another challenge, where people are trying to snipe them and then hold on to them, like hold them hostage or whatever. So that's been a separate that's a separate story. But I think it's really arbitrary in terms of the mint number. I mean, to be able, and this is kind of like what I was talking about with somebody else the other day. You have flippers, you have collectors, and then I think there's another level that I think is pretty appropriate. There are curators, right? To tend to the collection, to focus on a narrow range of, maybe because the collectibles, there might be thousands of one collectible, but to focus on one mint across the different IPs, that in itself is a very difficult challenge, because over time people do catch on, but yeah, curate, flippers, collectors, and then there's curators, and I think those are the really super focused, obsessed people. And I know there's at least like maybe 10, 20, 30 people who do the same thing. But I think that's a testament to the conviction that we have to the platform, and I think it does show that we enjoy it.
Thank you. Yeah, so now our biggest job is to get more users on board, get more collectors on board. Yeah, so stay tuned. I mean, we've got a lot more coming. I do believe that as we're doing this recording, Dan is actually doing a recording tutorial live stream with all the beta tester who got invited to be part of the VeVe's VeVe home. So hopefully, we won't have too much back from the test, and then we can start rolling out to a wider group to test it out. And just one last thing, it is very important you guys do understand that no matter how many users in the app right now or active user, this is still a very, very small user base from our big goal now. We really do believe that we need to get things right, and the community needs to stay more positive note, so more users are welcoming and come in. The biggest effect is that when you start clicking something and people have all, and there's nothing wrong with their opinion and comment on the app, but it's very important that one another support another collector to bring them in. It was very encouraging when we had Comic-Con that we have signed up so many new users, and convert them to active users is another thing. So more and more property you'll see, the idea is to reach out to as many different categories as possible. So you're never just going to see it's going to be a Marvel or a DC or a Disney or Universal. It's going to be a wide range of IP. And the whole purpose is to capture that audience coming in. What we have learned from Comic-Con and from the 4 days that I've been going into meeting and walking around, every item in Comic-Con, and there's hundreds and hundreds of booths, every type of collectible there's a market for. And we just need to find that right audience to get them on board, hold their hands. And our community needs to stay ever stronger to bring these and foster new users coming on. And never be afraid that we're going to be outblowing ourselves, and or the app's not going to be working. As a company, our job is to ensure we can support that level of growth as well. So we need your help as much as we need each other to ensure this industry stays alive.
Yeah. So David, I know that we are close to to the schedule, but I just have two last quick questions, if you don't mind, because the community really want an answer. So the first question is, some collectors in Ukraine are having problems using the app. So maybe you can touch on that briefly. And then the second question is, well, kind of my question actually, is how would you envision a day in the VeVeVerse? So you can take it in whichever order you want.
Yeah. So just touch point in regards to the users in Ukraine. I will need to look into this a little bit deeper as what the issue is. To be very honest, I have heard of this issue once before. I might need to bring it up in our monthly meeting, and we'll see if we can get this resolved and what are the hurdles, and why is it being switched off, if it's anything regulations or technology or service providers in that region. So I need to the second question in regards to how we will envision this is there's going to be a lot, but please, this is not anything like a full statement on what we want to deliver. How we envision is really the metaverse needs to have a purpose of why you design it and why people come together. And there's a lot of metaverse out there already in games. People play Fortnite, the people play Roblox out there. In a way, they are a metaverse themselves. People go there, QA, they play, and they have fun. And even on people watching other people playing games like Counter-Strike or Fortnite, they get entertainment value out of it. You know, my nephews, they watch on YouTube of other gamers play esports, and I do ask them, you know, what do you get out of it? They see it as an entertainment value. Now, the purpose of the VeVeVerse, and we're going to be rolling them out very slowly as market requires them. We can go as big as we want, but that's not the purpose, is how big. And we learn from other metaverse operators out there is that you need to have a sense of community. There's not much point if I'm in there and I don't see anyone in there and I don't do anything else. And every time I come in, well, you say you're going to be in there, you're not. So after 5 times visiting the VeVeVerse, I give up because I don't see cool mates who wants to hang out there are there. The purpose is, number one, is to give users more utility value out of the collectibles that they have purchased and on. And the best way to describe this is when you used to play SimCity, you used to build things. You build, I remember playing SimCity. I played SimCity Park as well, where you build roller coasters. You build little tuck shops where you sell popcorn drinks. You put more salt on it so they buy more drinks. The whole idea is to create that ecosystem where eventually you will be doing this interview in VeVeVerse, in your VeVe home. You will be possibly selling your own merchandise in the VeVeVerse, where you could be part of the content creator and reward by the profit you make out of it and build your own audience. We have seen users on such as Instagram or TikTok or other social media platform to in a way to market themselves or market products and to earn income from it. And we see the world is moving more and more dynamically over there. And VeVeVerse eventually will be a platform where community can come together to share that fandom of collecting and talk about all sorts of other collectibles as well. And possibly it will go beyond just a Web2. It could be a Web3 digital play business. And most important is to share that love and, you know, having hardware devices, putting it on, enjoying that journey and share with one another. And also inviting your friends coming over to your house. And for some of the VeVe builders who love build showrooms, they could have a full-time job building houses for people.
100%.
The couches, lighting up the back, putting the back wall, turning this into a different environment. And there will be a lot of these opportunities. We almost are like a d-commerce company, a digital commerce business going into, and we hope to create subcategories where people can be part of that and profit in a way or rewarded in a way that for their love of this hobby. And we already have seen even yourself putting on podcasts, bringing on content for your audience. You're creating, generating a new thing. So that's one part. A major part was part of our early pitch was all about UGC. How can we get users to generate more user content? And well, that's what Instagram is. That's what Facebook is. That's what TikTok is. A lot of these apps, they're getting the users to generate the content, to create a communication tool to reach out. And so user generated content is going to be a major play. And to generate that content, like MisterV, you have to be loving what you do. Then you will talk about. So hopefully all these great experience will allow more users to come on board, to generate that and to share that and get viral. And then we get more use. So the ecosystem, eventually how we envision will be, endless ways we can grow from user, from revenue, from how we reward revenue to the people who generate these contents. And these are the things that we're still working out. And we're learning from YouTube. We're learning from Twitter, X. We're learning from Facebook. We're learning how these money can be funneled through to the communities as well. So that will be part of all that journey as well.
Yeah. David, we are super grateful to have you on today and spend time with us. This is absolutely incredible for us to, we started this podcast back in January 2023. So it's only been 7-8 months, and we work every single week. And it is just amazing to finally have you on. And personally, I would like to say thank you for, because you and Dan and the VeVe team has created sort of like a new community for people to be a part of, especially during a rough time. During COVID, people were at home, and also a new identity. Because nowadays, I bet like when people go out and, they can say that, oh, I collect digitally on VeVe, or I am a VeVe collector. Or at least for me personally, I tell people like, hey, I make VeVe NFT social content. So thanks for providing that community and that new identity to many people, and helping so many folks who have, for multiple life reasons, have kind of forgotten about collecting, to start collecting again and be close to the fandom, and to have new friends. I met MisterV through VeVe, and we have collaborated and started this podcast, and there have been so many other friendships started because of the product that you and Dan really struggled with, during the 2016 to 2018 period. Thank you for all of this. And I really hope to have you on again in the future to chat VeVe and Omi.
Thank you. And thanks, MisterV. Thanks, Will.
Yeah.
Thanks, David.
All right. Have a good weekend, David, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you again.
All right. Bye-bye. That is it, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed the episode today. And if you have, remember that gentleman agreement. We will continue working until 1 a.m. just for you. But in return, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss out on the actionable and valuable insights, everything VeVe and Omi related. Don't forget to give us a rating and tweet at us to let us know what you think about the podcast so that we can refine the content better just for you. Thank you so much. We hope to see you again next time. Peace.